Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, we're recording this session on 8/30/2021. And we were just talking about, we're going over study guide questions, which is a great way of reviewing for the exam, which has been posted as of yesterday. If you have problems with the test, let me know quickly, because sometimes that can be a crazy thing too. And we're on chapter 1, question 29, talking about the slut walk that occurred in Toronto, Canada 10 years ago. And the women responded to police officers' comment that women should avoid dressing like sluts, because if you have a lower plunging neckline or a bigger hole in your sleeveless blouse, or you're wearing a midriff, or your skirt is too short in their terms. Leggings are very popular now, and some people are inappropriate about those too. So, but in 2011, I mean, and Caitlin saying, forget it, it's happening today. I'm not surprised. People, and I've seen it in the streets of Chihuahua as well, heads, wolf whistles, and ay, mamacita, it's just inappropriate. It's just inappropriate. All right. It's a good cultural lesson, though. Anything else on that page? Nothing. How about 37? What's the answer to 37?
C.
It is. Go ahead.
C.
It is C. Isn't that an interesting question? Or I should say answer question answer. It may devalue sexual behaviors other than intercourse. Remember the famous Bill Clinton, I never had sex with that woman, not even once. Well, Bill, being all hip, down with the gente, he knew that most younger people did not consider oral sex as sex. The only thing that they really considered sex was penile vaginal contact. So if you're manually stimulating somebody or using something other than your penis, it's not sex. And that became a national discussion. What does sex really mean? And what can you say? You guys who were smart enough to watch that video that I posted with that comedian Stephen Colbert, I mean, that is eye-opening when that lady's talking about, don't you cross this line, not one time. And you're a piece of women, you're a piece of adhesive tape, and every time you give yourself sexually to somebody, it makes your tape less and less and less adhesive. So by the time you're thinking about getting married, nobody's going to get stuck to you, because you're all used up like that tennis shoe after you went through the basketball team. That one dude talking to his wife. I mean, bad. But here they take a little different a more positive view. They're saying if you only talk about real sex as sexual intercourse, then you're devaluing other sexual behaviors that are sex and should be respected and enjoyed and revered as being sex, not somebody trying to hide or lying in front of 360 million people that they never had sex because all they had was Monica Lewinsky, you know, giving oral sex to Bill Clinton. That's it. So anyway, I just picked that question out because I thought it was interesting. Okay. What about the next page or anything else on that page? How about 40? What's the answer to 40?
A, I think.
You're right. It is A. Young American females, that would be you, tend to report feeling more guilty about having sex for the first time than males do. That's that same dichotomy that women, females, and males do not think the same about sexual activities, and they still don't. Number 41's, or you don't have 41, do you?
Yes, we do, Mr.
You do? Okay, number 41 is another slut shaming one. And of course, the answer is D, involves commenting negatively on a woman's sexual behavior. Well, it's more than just sexual behavior. It is true, slut shaming can involve sexual behavior. Like, well, man, you've had sex with 20 guys, and we talk about that in negative terms. But if you were a male having sex with 20 females, then you'd be cool. Like, you got something that people want, or, you know, something to emulate, you know. Nobody wants to emulate the woman who had sex 20 times, but guys want to emulate the guy who had sex 20 times because he's macho, he's cool, he's getting what he wants. All right. How about next page?
I have a question about 49.
Good. Yeah, this usually makes the test. I can't remember whether I had a whole big issue trying to create your test because since this is in a mini semester, of course, I have to condense it. So it's basically 2 weeks into 1 week. And so all of my stuff is based on a week-to-week basis. So when I went to combine the two tests, I spent about 2 hours doing that. Should have taken about 2 minutes. But anyway, so I don't remember if this question's on the test or not, but it would have been a good one to put on there. I'll get better. Next test will be better. The other thing I found, well, that's inside baseball. Well, you might have a question, so I better explain it. Normally, like I said, go ahead.
For this question, I think it should be all of the above for one of the answers.
Yes, but the best and most obvious answer is B, the Victorian era, because that's when a lot of rules were thrown in the wind.
Okay.
But you're right, you could make an argument about early Christianity, ancient China, Saint Havelock. Usually who gets brought up is, well, I can't remember now. I want to say St. Augustine, but maybe I'm incorrect. There's a Catholic saint that was really into fundamental ideas of sexuality. I want to say it's Augustine. Might be on one of our questions. Some of your memory is better than mine this morning. What else we got? Anything on that page or another one?
60.
60. Witch hunts were the partial result of what? Exotic cults? No. The practice of courtly love? No. Maybe courtney love, but not courtly love. C, the portrayal of Eve as an evil temptress. Or D, the clash in female roles that occurred during the Victorian age. Now, this one's going to be C, the portrayal of Eve as the evil temptress. Men are superior. Men are all good. They started out good, and then evil women got involved in God's earth. And Eve tempted Adam, and then we've been living in sin ever since. And it's all because of women and their ability to manipulate us as men. So 60 is C. That was a good question to ask. That one is not on the test because I would have remembered that one.
What about 67?
67. World War I created an environment for A, increased equality and flexibility of gender roles. More World War II than World War I. But basically, when you define, as we have for a long time, less so today, if you define work areas by gender, then when you have something like a world war or some reason that women or men are not available anymore in the numbers that they used to be, then things will change. For instance, most people, when they think of teachers, not so much professors, but teachers, the teaching profession is heavily statistically majority are involved females. It's what you would call a female occupation. But that's ridiculous, of course, because men and women can both teach. So a lot of times you guys can look back at your history and say the first time I had a male teacher was middle school. And maybe I only had 1 out of 7 or something. And then in college, it sort of depends on what your discipline is. And that changes with necessity. For instance, some of you might be in nursing, I think, and nursing profession has always predominantly been female. Not so much now. And the reason being, number one, we need more nurses. We can't produce enough nurses to take care of our problems. And also, nurses get paid a very nice salary. So that becomes more attractive to men when they can get a decent salary. But there's still social taboo. If you are a male and you want to teach first grade students, people are going to hesitate with that for a lot of reasons. Go ahead, Caitlin.
No, no, I'm not looking at my study sheet.
Oh,
I'm driving.
oh, because your light was like going on. Well, yeah, don't be reading don't be reading a study guide while you're driving. That's a good idea. Don't do that. All right, what else we got going, guys? What's next? Are we near the end?
83,
Which one?
question 83. The most accurate, which is the most accurate statement?
Karina, when you're saying your numbers, they're because of the connection, they're bleeding in. So I can get the 3, but I can't get the first digit. What's the first digit?
83.
83. Now I can hear you perfectly. Which is the most accurate? Sex for procreation only, legacy, is no longer valid and considered to be dead now. That's true, but the question is most accurate. So let's go to B. Increased tolerance of diversity creates more problems in human sexuality. Nah, not true. C. With the increased understanding and acceptance of diversity in human sexuality that developed during the 20th century, we have greater freedoms and responsibilities today. That is absolutely true. And let's look at D. The U.S. involved in World War I and II placed American women in the workforce permanently without the ability to decide if they wanted to. Part of that looks like it's going to be a good question answered, but it's not. So the most accurate is going to be C, even though A is accurate, but C is more accurate.
Thank you.
That's a good question as well. Is that it? I think that's it, isn't it?
No, I have one 93.
Oh, I actually went to 93. Magazines designed for young men emphasize all of the following except one. So let's figure out which one. A, information about what women want. You better believe it has that, because that's the whole idea. You know, get the information so you can go out and get what you want. So figure out what women want, and then you can try to emulate that. B, how to promote kinky sexual variety with partners. Well, you got to figure it's today's magazines. So let's look at C, accurate sexual knowledge, or D, higher gender stereotypical beliefs. That's a tough question. What were you inclined to think?
The kinky answer.
That I would tend to agree with you on that. That's not what the book says, of course. Well, the book probably doesn't say it directly, but intimates that C is the answer. Accurate sexual knowledge. Magazines designed for young men really don't emphasize accurate sexual knowledge. That's a weird one. I didn't put that one on the test either. I would have remembered that one.
I think it's C, accurate sexual knowledge.
C, yeah, 93 is C. That it does not promote that. They're not designed to be a informative sex manual or informative sex magazine. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to sell magazines. And the way they sell magazines is to talk about what you need to do to get the girl in bed. Now that you're in bed and now you've been in bed 20 times, that's too boring. So let's talk about kinky things. Yeah, let's bring a third party in. Let's whatever. Do, you know, how to have sex in public without getting caught or arrested or something like that. I don't know. So were you agreeing with that or thinking that doesn't make sense? C is the answer. It seems kind of dumb to me, but that's why one of the reasons I wouldn't have put that on the test, and I didn't. Oh, by the way, just to give you some cues for future exams, I don't, like for instance, question 81, the 19th Amendment gave the women right to vote in 1920. I would never put a question like that on the test because you have to remember two things. You have to remember it's the 19th Amendment and you have to remember it happened in 1920. That's a lot of information in a human sexuality, any class. So I stay away, even though I put them on the study guide, just so you'll see it and go, oh yeah, right, 1920. Statistics, more than 72, the last national survey taking, 72% of adult males thought blank. I don't put those kind of questions on the test because it might be worded as which percentage of males think X? Is it 70%, 75%, 80, 83%? It's like, who cares? It's more than over 50 and it's approaching 3/4. I mean, it's important to understand the big concept. 3/4 of people don't believe in this or don't practice this. Okay, in the big picture, it's helpful. But I'm not going to ask a question like that because my memory doesn't work that well. And it's not that important. Oh, you said 76%. The true answer was 71. Well, big deal. You know, I don't put questions like that on the exam. And I certainly don't put questions that require you to have two answers for the price of one. But I didn't answer my other statement I was going to make about if any of you, when you take the exam, you look at what the point value of a question is. Normally, like when your questions were 20 question test, when you were doing this in a 16-week format, now you're doing it in an 8-week format. I just logically designed a test for 40 questions or 30. I don't even know what I did. It should have been 40, but I was frustrated. I don't know what I did. But the point is, it doesn't add up to 100 correctly, so it causes problems. So I just arbitrarily, some questions are worth 4 points, some questions are worth 3 points, simply because I wanted it to add up to 100 so that when you see what you missed, it'll be an even number. Otherwise, it's all messed up. So I've never had to worry about that until this time. So little piece of inside baseball. Okay, let's go. Are we done with chapter 1 study guide? If not, if you think of something while we're going over chapter 2, then you can let me know, or you can always shoot me an email or text or something and say, I forgot to ask about 27. So it's all right. I want you to have the right answers. So that when you go to study for the exam, you don't have the wrong ones.
Excuse me, sir. Is there a chapter 2 study guide, or is there just a chapter 3 study guide?
There's just a 3. Did I just say 2 like a dummy? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I should have said the second chapter, but no, it's chapter 1 and 2. We're not doing 1 and 3. We're not doing 2 because 2 is on statistics and that kind of stuff. And that's a good area to know, but you can get that in a math class and do a lot better than what you're going to get in one chapter in a human sexuality class.
For question 96, I was kind of confused because they're all kind of popular.
I'm sorry?
The websites for question 96,
96 or 6?
96.
96 in chapter 1?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the same way.
Because they're all really popular.
"96 is A. It says in the one of the media paragraphs in the book
Right.
that foreign sites attract more than all 3 of the other ones.
Yeah, the US, which of the following websites attract more visitors each month? Well, this book was written in probably 2020. I think it has a 2021 publication. Let's see. Yeah, it has a 2021 release date, but it was written in 2020. And this kind of stuff can change. US, which of the following websites attract more visitors each month?
Yes.
A, porn sites.
I thought it was Netflix.
Yeah, sex sells. Sex sells. And even though Netflix is great, Amazon's great, I don't do Twitter. Porn sites are going to smoke everything else. And I've said this to you guys before, and I'll repeat it several times. Millennials, people of your age, are having less sexual activities involving other people than all previous cohorts that are your age. So being 20 years ago, being 20, 30, 40, whatever, you guys are having less sex than the previous generations. And some of that is because of porn sites. Some of it's complicated because of relationships, and nowadays are a little more complicated than they used to be. And so a lot of people just made the decision, it's not that important to me. It's not that in order for me to have sex with another person, I generally have to be in a relationship. And I'm just not interested in being in a relationship right now. So one leads to the other. But there doesn't seem, there's not an increase in casual hookup sex either. Because if it's just trying to avoid relationships, then people would go to a hookup place, whether it's a bar or a dance place. And when gays started coming out more into the public, they created, at least in San Francisco, they created things called baths, which were like a hot tub experience or a place to go to relax and have a steam room or something. But because it was in the gay district, like in Castro, the gay district in San Francisco, that's where men would go for hookups, for sex, immediate, bam. And we've got Tinder and Backdoor or whatever that other one was. Some of those are about as hookup as you can get, but there doesn't seem to be a huge increase in that. There is a huge increase in that. I can't remember exactly the name of it. Members only, or for you only, or whatever the jargon is. And those are websites where women perform sexual activities that you, I think it's called members only. Members only. You get to see more intimate pictures, or you can say, hey, why don't you put on a baby doll dress or something like that. That's becoming unbelievably popular. There was I read an article about a woman who lived near a military base, and somehow, sort of off the cuff, she dated somebody or something, and somebody was sharing nudies or something. And the next thing you know, because of the demand, she created a members only website thing. And she was making like $900,000 or something. It was just unbelievable. But again, that's not person to person physical contact. So that's increased. So, and that would be considered a porn site. So it's hands down, the answer is A, and it's hands down by a long shot. You could combine Netflix, Amazon, and Twitter together, and you wouldn't touch porn sites. That's how much bigger it is. Okay. Any more questions on the first chapter? I think you'll find the chapter 3 pretty much more straightforward, but we'll find out. Okay, I'm on chapter 3, which starts out, which of the following is true regarding female genital self-exam? Right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The answer to that is what?
A.
The answer to 1 is what?
It's A.
No, it's actually C. Many women are uncomfortable with the idea of genital self-exam because they have been trained to think of their genitals as part of their bodies and should not be touched. What? That seems weird, doesn't it? You'd like to think it was A, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember whether that one made it. Like I say, generally I do a much better job than I did this time at screening the questions because I was having such a trouble loading them up in any form. So I should have printed the test out. I don't think that question's on the test, but now that we've spent so much time on it, if it is, you'll remember that the answer is C, even though you might think A is a better answer. That happens sometimes. What else we got on page 1? Or, yeah, your first page.
Number 8.
The labia majora is D, covered with pubic hair on the outside.
I thought it was B.
The majora?
Yeah.
No, that's the menorah. The inner lips is the menorah. The majora is the outer lips. So
No, I said B.
oh, I thought you said C. B,
No. Yeah.
provide the majority of vaginal lubrication. No, the vagina creates the lubrication, not the labia. So H is D, as in dog. Well, maybe there will be some controversy.
What
What
about
What else do you have?
11?
11?
Yeah, I got C.
And you would be thinking correct. This is pretty amazing. Labiaplasty, which is on the rise, performed to make the labia minora, which of course are the inside lips, resemble the genitalia of a porn star. Well,
Is the answer B, usually pursued by women with abnormally large labia?
you know, you gotta wonder whether some of these answers the book has provided just suck. 'Cause first of all, labiaplasty involves more than the labia minora. In labiaplasty, as the word, as you understand the Latin terms, just means removal of the labia, or doesn't have to be removal, but surgery on the labia. And it could be the minora or the majora. And so when the book says the answer is C, which is not a good answer. Of course, D is absolutely out. I would say C is absolutely out myself. B, usually pursued by women with abnormally large labia. That is my understanding, but answer A, generally performed on the labia majora and the clitoris. No, I'm sorry, clitoris. Obviously A is out. I'm sorry. I wasn't reading it. I was thinking labia, majora, minora. No, 1 is out. D is out. So the only 2 answer stems would be B and C. And to me, question stem B is better than C. I don't even know what a genitalia of a porn star is supposed to look like. It is true that women with large labia don't like the way it looks, and so they have surgery. So I think B is a much better answer. You know what, this is gonna, go ahead. This is bugging me. I gotta print the test. Otherwise, I'm gonna be telling you something that's not on the test and it ends up being, look like a dummy. So let me. You know what? I do not know where I put it, to tell you the truth. Let's see. All right. I'm gonna have to go to Blackboard because I don't know what I did with it. Okay, I did not give you 40 questions. I gave you 30 questions.
Sarah, I have a question about 23.
Okay. I'm quickly looking through your 30 questions to make sure that question is not on there. No. No questions about labioplasty on there. Oh, that's good. What was the other one that we were arguing about or discussing, I should say? You remember?
She said 23.
No, I mean, not number wise. Tell me what, the one we talked about before that where I said one answer would have been better than the other one.
I think it was number 1.
It was number 1 and then number 8, the labia majora.
Okay, well, I got A. What was number 1 on? What was the first question?
It's which of the following is true regarding female genital self-exam?
Oh, the one about that people are not doing, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's not on the test either. There is a question about breast cancer, I see. Okay, good. Neither one of those. There's a question about women feeling positive. We haven't gotten to that question yet, though, so I shouldn't reveal that answer so quickly. Okay, I gotta switch again and go back to chapter 3. Okay, what was the question again that you have on 3? What's the number?
It was question 23.
23. The function of the hymen. Oh, this is a great question too. The function of the hymen is to A, protect urethra tissues in the early stages of development. Wrong. B, protect against early intercourse. No, it's not going to protect you from early intercourse. C, enhance sexual arousal. No, it does not uh, help with sexual arousal, and you only going to have it for one time anyway. And D, help protect vaginal tissues early in life. That's the function of the hymen. Remember, we talked about anatomy and physiology. The anatomy of the hymen is it's a covering over the vaginal area with just leaving a little bit of area not covered to allow blood flow for administration. But obviously, early life, girls don't have menstruation. But that's really what, if you look at how your body was created and the reason for it, a hymen is to protect vaginal tissues early in life, not protect them from intercourse, but protect them from disease and other things getting inside the vagina you wouldn't want to happen. So 23 is D. And of course, we should have at least a little minor discussion about the hymen. It's not always present in women, even if they're virgins. Hymen is not a reliable method of proving virginity. Some of these countries that are in the newspaper and news today believe that women cannot get married if they're not virgins. So in those countries, they actually have plastic surgeons giving them a hymen so they can get married. Otherwise, they're rejected. So that's an old school.
I also have a question on number 30.
30. The cavernosus bodies are bodies that engorge with blood during sexual arousal. So that is true in males and females. The male penis, of course, is obvious if the cavernosus bodies become engorged with blood, then an erection occurs. With females, if their bodies get engorged with blood, it's not so obvious. Yes, it's true that the clitoris may seem more available, like a little minor erection in your clitoris. But obviously you don't miss that in a male. You might miss that reality in a female. But the areas of arousal for women that are associated with the clitoris are mostly unseen. It's a huge amount of area behind the clitoris inside the body cavity, which you can't see. It's there. That leads sort of into the Grafenberg spot theory. There should be a handout on, well, I don't know if I put it up there or not since this chapter's kind of messed up, but there's a whole area behind the clitoris. It looks like a wishbone from a turkey, you know, like a wishbone. That's sort of what the cell structure that support sexual arousal. That's what it looks like. And with the very end being the clitoris, and then that goes inside the body cavity, and then you can't see. And what's behind the body cavity is a big structure that looks like a big turkey wishbone. Looks like a wishbone, a big U tuning fork, something like that. That's that size. And it's a lot bigger than the clitoris itself.
I have a question.
Okay.
Number 22, I'm kind of stuck between A and C.
Good. It's good to bring up that. Then the
I'm sorry,
opening,
sir, so the question for 30 was A, right? The answer for 30?
the answer to 30 is A. Yes, it's A.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're on 22, right?
Yes.
The opening of the vagina is referred to as the vestibule, urethra,
Let's see.
introitus, vulva.
Okay.
It's a new word. It's a new word we don't use very much. The introitus. So now we learned something. Thank you. What else is going on?
I have a question about 21.
Ooh, usually I do a writing assignment on this because it upsets me a lot. But I don't think I'm gonna do that. But anyway, getting to FGN, female genital mutilation. Female genital cutting. A, can cause severe bleeding, intense pain, childbirth complications, and death, infertility, other stuff. Okay. B, in large majority of cases conducted in a hospital. Ha, 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 ha. Wrong. C, only ever involves the removal of the clitoral hood. Wrong. There's like, I don't know, 9 or 10 different types of genital cutting that occurs in these countries that still allow that. D, was performed in ancient societies but died out. No, there's an article that I should post. It's on a doctor who was arrested in Detroit for doing genital mutilation here in the United States. And she got off on most of the charges. I haven't checked it recently to see what's going on with her. But it is not dead, and it is alive and well in some cultures. And it is not directly tied to the Muslim religion, Islam. It's not an Islamic thing. It's a Northern Africa thing. A lot of people in Northern Africa are Muslims, but it doesn't happen in like the Middle East where there's lots of Muslims as well. It just seems to be in that Northern Africa area and descendants, Somalia and areas like that. And unfortunately, when these folks immigrate to the United States, they take their cultural practices with them. And that's what my writing assignment is about. I present you with some videos and some articles, and then you end up making up your mind as to what, if anything, should we do about it. Should we stop it in the United States? Should we go to other countries? We can't make them stop things, but we can put sanctions on them and not help them, not do trade with them or blah, blah, blah. There's things we can do to other countries to punish them for participating in this ancient ritual that's just completely barbaric. It goes right at demoralizing and subjugating females in a society that allows not allows, but encourages, demands that young girls get their genitals mutilated, especially in the area of trying to remove any sexual pleasure from having sex. The answer to that is A, of course, but it's a disgusting thing to know what's going on even in the United States. What other questions do you have?
Sorry, I'm gonna have to leave the meeting, but I just wanted to get one more question out. It's further on, but 76 is one that I wasn't really clear about.
Not a problem.
I think it's A because it seems like the only one that is not like speculation, I would say.
76.
76.
Manesia turns 60, most likely Manesia can still become pregnant. No. Likely will continue to menstruate for at least 5 years. No. May take longer to become sexually aroused when she was younger. Yes. D, most likely experienced significant emotional distress when she stopped menstruating. No. So the only answer is C. Is that what you were thinking?
No, well, I thought A just because you can still get pregnant, I guess, when you're 60, but I guess it says most likely, so.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the issue. And obviously if people are going through the change of life before 60 in menopause, then obviously that's not an option. But those who don't, it's a possibility. Every once in a while you'll see that somebody in their late 50s or 60s actually conceived a child. It's a very rare occasion that would occur, obviously because they haven't gone through menopause, but the body wasn't designed to have children that late in life. But if everything's still there, eggs still there, and periods are still happening, the cycle's happening, then yeah, more likely a 60-year-old man can impregnate somebody than a 60-year-old female can become impregnated.
Okay, thank you. I was just not really clear on that one.
Well, and sometimes they run into some really interesting minutia here in some of these questions. So it's always good to ask. Thank you for asking. Thank you for showing up, even though you got to run somewhere else. Take care. All right. What else what other questions might be on your mind?
I have a question about 36.
36.
I was just gonna say that same thing. 36.
Okay. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Rugae refers to A, fibrous connective tissues that hold the uterus in place. B, glands in the vaginal walls. Well, no. C, folds of tissue in the vagina. Or D, color changes that occur during vasocongestion. So what were you thinking?
I was thinking C.
And you would be thinking correct. That is the right answer.
What about for question 48?
The cervix is C, is located in the back of the vagina and is in the lower part of the uterus. That's what babies go through when they are born, through the cervix. That's where birth control devices can be placed to stop from growth, fertilization and growth. So that it's a birth control method. So the cervix is just a very, very tight part. It's the bottom of your uterus in essence. So 48 is C. Do we have anything else?
54.
Oh, ectopic pregnancy. Simple answer though. B refers to a fertilized ovum that implants outside of the uterus. That's kind of a stupid way of saying it. It's a ectopic pregnancy is one where the fertilized egg doesn't make it into the uterus, so therefore it impregnates, or the ovum is already fertilized, so it attaches to the fallopian tube, which is not supposed to do. It has to go. The egg obviously has to leave the ovary, go into the fallopian tube. Normally, conception occurs in the fallopian tube. The sperm are already up there waiting for that egg to come down the fallopian tube, and that's where fertilization occurs. But unfortunately, sometimes the fertilized egg attaches to the fallopian tube wall instead of the endometrium inside of the uterus, and then you've got a huge problem. That is a killer of women. Ectopic pregnancies can kill you in a very short amount of time. So if women, whether they're trying to conceive or not, if they're at least having intercourse, and they get some severe pains, it is really good to go have that checked out, because if you have an ectopic pregnancy, your blood pressure can drop and you're going to be dead before they can do anything about it. Matter of fact, if you went into your doctor's office and they felt that an ectopic pregnancy had occurred, you would not leave the doctor's office. You would go directly to surgery. So it's a very, very, it doesn't happen a lot, but all it takes is one time when it's a loved one of yours. It's a very, very scary proposition. I don't know why they said implants outside of the uterus. That is true, but where else is it going to implant? It's either going to implant in the fallopian tube. It's going to on your right thigh. It's going to implant on your right thigh. It's stupid. They should have said in the fallopian tube. These question makers are questionable. That's why they call them question people, questionable people. I don't know. Dangerous, though. Ladies, take care of yourself. What else we got?
I'm sorry, sir. So the answer was what?
The answer is B.
Okay.
I just think they should have said in the fallopian tube. You only have two choices: the fallopian tube or the uterus. It's not it. It's in the uterus, and it's a baby implanting where it's supposed to. So why say outside the uterus? It's going to go through. We were talking a minute ago about the cervix. It's going to go through the cervix and go somewhere else. Implant on the inside of your vagina. Come on, this is crazy. But
61, sir.
61. The corpus luteum secretes progesterone. Yes, it does. And I should have posted, and I don't know whether I did, since I took so much stuff out, a very nice handout that describes what happens hormonally when pregnancy occurs. But yes, the corpus luteum secretes progesterone, and that progesterone, which is a hormone, causes other changes in the body, like getting the endometrium ready for things and growth and all sorts of things, cut off menstruation and all sorts of things. So 61 is A.
I have a question on 65.
65, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. That's the one that's got so many names, you know, like the curves, all that kind of stuff. So 65 is B. It involves emotional, behavioral, physical, and cognitive systems that significantly interfere with functioning. So most people, most women, or I guess we're not supposed to call them women anymore, childbearing person or whatever the heck the new PC word is. Anyway, people that have a uterus and eggs and menstruate. I think that's the way to say it. People who menstruate, whether they're male or female, people who menstruate do have, some have emotional, behavioral, physical, and cognitive systems that interfere with functioning. When it becomes a disorder, when they start using the word disorder, then you know it has to include the word interfere, the words interfere with functioning. If you have bad periods, you have bad cramps, you have fevers, you need to lay down, all that kind of stuff, it's not going to be considered a disorder unless it stops you from doing your daily activities. That's the difference between a disorder and just symptoms of a problem, you know. So
I just have two more, sir. It's going to be 64 and 84.
you like those fours. 64. Imani's family can always tell when she is about to start menstruating because she becomes very irritable, tearful, distracted. Imani dreads getting her period because in addition to all these behavioral systems, she has hot flashes that interfere greatly with her sleep. Imani may benefit from treatment involving either a hormone, as in birth control, or they're also being treated with antidepressant, SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs. Those are a class of antidepressants, but they work in a way that can help people that have this really bad disorder, the true disorder, not just unpleasantness, but things that affect your functioning. So the answer is D to 64.
Sorry, I just in a class.
Did you have did you say 84 as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, symptoms of vaginitis include all of the following. Many of you probably know people who have had this. I certainly do. So, answer D, a frequent need to urinate is not part of vaginitis. Might be a UTI, a uterine tract infection, but vaginitis is A, irritation, itching of the vagina and the vulva, unusual discharge, and unpleasant odor. Those three things are classic vaginitis. Frequent need to urinate is not associated because the urinary tract is not part of the vagina. Okay, somebody else had another question?
I'm just.
All right, no problem. Okay.
Which number?
86.
Okay. 86, the risk of developing cervical cancer increases when a woman does what? Very easy, smokes tobacco. Tobacco is bad for a lot of things. Not just lung cancer, but cervical cancer in women. Or persons who have a cervix.
92.
92, ovarian cancer is B, difficult to detect because symptoms sort of tend to be vague. So 92 is B. Well, we're getting sort of late in the day. Maybe we should have a little bit of time tomorrow to have another review in case you guys thought of something that you didn't have on the top of your mind right now. So I'll give you another opportunity to ask some questions tomorrow over 1 or 3, and then we'll get into the next chapter, which is on male anatomy. So it's not really that challenging. It's like the female one. Most of the stuff is pretty straightforward. And I'll create that test, so we won't have so much ambiguity. All right, so we'll see you all tomorrow, same time. Hopefully the same sign in. And if you have any questions in the meantime, shoot me an email or a phone text and I'll answer it for you. Okay, thanks for showing up. Thanks for staying late. Chat with you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again.